generally regarded that the first Olympic Games were held in 776 BC in Olympia, Greece. If only the ancient Greeks could have seen what would happen 2,753 years later. The Olympic Games would turn into this. The marvel of the modern space age, Video Olympics on the Atari 2600. Released in 1977, I think that Atari was onto something here. If the Olympic Games date back several thousand years, what that really means is that they're outdated. Video games are clearly the future, and the Olympic Games should incorporate video games into them, if not replacing all sports entirely with video games. Swimming back and forth in a swimming pool going nowhere gets you nowhere because you're simply swimming back and forth in a swimming pool, whereas sitting on your couch playing Atari gets you nowhere, but you're putting a lot less effort into going nowhere and it makes more sense. And you can order a pizza while you're doing it. Can't do that while you're swimming, it gets soggy. And don't even get me started on gymnastics, it confuses me. What doesn't confuse me is playing 10 different versions of PONG, and that's what you get in Video Olympics. They went out of their way to try to create a couple actual sports names for these versions of PONG. Included in this game are PONG, Super PONG, PONG Doubles, Quadrapong, Soccer, Foosball, Handball, Ice Hockey, Basketball, and Volleyball. In typical Atari fashion, they created some great cover art. They called it Video Olympics. And Quadrapong is 4 players if you have 2 sets of the paddle controllers. And I have to give them credit. This is one of the earliest Atari games, and they did take a simple concept, Pong, which is a very fun game in and of itself. I actually really enjoy Pong. I'm not very good at it, but I really like it. They created a number of unique versions of Pong, and the game is actually a lot of fun. Perhaps as you're playing Video Olympics, you can pretend that you're in the real Olympics, or the real Olympics as they should be, which are the Video Olympics. You can hum the Olympic theme in your head and sing your national anthem every time you crush your opponent in the Pong version of Ice Hockey, which is my favorite version of Pong on this game. The gameplay is, as you would expect, marvelous, with the wonderful Atari paddle controllers, which I really like, and I actually wish that game systems would come out with paddle controllers today, because sure, Pong looks pretty simple, but this game is a lot of fun, and it's a great 2-player game. And you better have 2 players when you try to play Video Olympics, because the majority of the games are 2-player only. The basic Pong game does give you a 1-player option, and you can play against the computer, but this game really needs to be enjoyed with 2 players. And currently the Atari 2600 does not have online gameplay capability, so you actually have to have friends that want to come over to your house or apartment and play Atari with you. Overall, this game is excellent. I think that the basketball and the volleyball attempts are the weak points in the game. Handball's a lot of fun. I like the ice hockey. And of course, basic Pong is always a timeless classic that can be enjoyed anytime, anywhere, by pretty much anybody. And video games should absolutely be an Olympic sport in the future, preferably starting with Pong. Yeah, I think Atari was definitely on the right track with Video Olympics because of the impressive variety of Video Olympic games in this game cartridge. At least for the time, this was an impressive variety. We know today that, yeah, it's 10 different versions of Pong. But, you know, come on. They still did a pretty good job with it, I think. But the Video Game Olympics, I have this all down in my head now. It would be like the video game decathlon. where you'd have to compete in a whole variety of different video games and not excel at just any one genre. So you could see maybe breaking it up over 2 days. The first day you'd have to compete at PONG, Einhander, Forza 2, Final Fantasy Tactics, and let's just throw in Robotron 2084 to really thin out the crowd. The second day, we could go with a word game like Hangman, some Yar's Revenge, Halo 3, Herzog Zwei, and then to top it off, the arcade version of Street Fighter 2. That's where you really bring in the different nationalities of the world, because Street Fighter 2 was a fairly diverse game. And that's something that Video Olympics tried to do in spirit, bringing different cultures, different colors, different people together. We have the green blocks versus the orange blocks. No longer are they fighting. The greens and the oranges can get together and have a friendly game of Pong without resorting to violence. And that's something that the Video Game Olympics would teach future generations, and we have Atari to thank for this.